Okay, well, I am playing with this. I want to change the way this is set up. In fact, I'm going to use a box like this that will make this a little bit smaller and more compact. So let's back up there for a minute, because probably looking at this and saying, "Oh, why do you want to do this?" Well, I didn't have, when I first started playing with this stuff, I didn't have one of those. This is a Suncor AC PowerRite variable isolation transformer and safety analyzer. That's pretty cool. I have a video on that. That's fun. It's an isolated output. This, of course, is not isolated. Now, this idea came from somebody else, and they said, they titled their video, Poor Man's Variable Transformer, or whatever. I forget what they called it, or I forget what I called it. And somebody said, well, and then I built this, and I said, well, the Extreme Poor Man's transformer, or Variac, that's what it was. So Poor Man's Variac, and then I came up with Extreme Poor Man's Variac. And somebody called me on that and said, well, that's not a Variac, and technically it's not. But this, let me just show you this here. This kilowatt doesn't necessarily measure exactly what it should. This is 119, this is saying 112, so I'm not sure why that's not reading right. But I want to show you how this works, and I want to show you why I thought this might be interesting to do. I saw people screwing bulbs in and out, and different sizes of bulbs, and I thought, it might be easier to maybe have a 40 watt, a 75 watt, and a 100 watt. Right now I've got, these two are energy savers. This is a 29 watt, this is 72 watt. This is an actual 75 watt, but what I want to do is find an actual 100 watt, and then I'd have better range. I'm thinking that I might still find this useful, and it definitely will be nice if I can make this a little bit more compact. And this, yeah. So my plan. Here's what my plan is. Turn that off. When I get done, these bulbs are going to be 3 in a row next to this. This won't be here. The outlet will actually be into this and this. And so, and my plan is to take this and just plunk it down in here, and then, so when I get all done, it'd be relatively narrow, a little bit narrower this way, not as deep, rather, and a little bit narrower. But I want to have 3 of them in line here. Like I said, I'll have this, and then I'll have the outlet in here. These aren't really, they aren't that sloppy, so maybe they're right. Alright, it's done, as you can see. I put this little wedge on the bottom. Makes it, if I have this on here, you can see it easier. This bottom bulb was hitting against the desk, so I don't want the bulb to, if you have a bulb lit and you're banging it constantly as you're moving it around, that's not ideal. So this here, I put some double-sided adhesive on there to keep that in place. So here's the thing, my primary reason, well, I had 2. As I mentioned before, you could treat this like kind of like a Variac, because this originally was going to be 100, 75, and 40. So you could start off with a 40, and that gives you low voltage Then you can add a 75, the voltage would climb a little bit more, and then you add your 100 and it climbs even more. It's not like a Variac. It's not exactly like a Variac because the difference, the jump in voltage is fairly high. So, the other reason for doing this is when I'm working on, I tend to work on different pieces of equipment. Some equipment draws more current than others. Other pieces of equipment do. A lot of the stuff that I work on, small radios and so on, are around an amp, thereabouts. If I had the full complement, 100 through 40, I would have 215 watts, I think. It's around 1.8 amps. So, if I have a high wattage device, like my Fisher C500, I think that draws about 2 amps, a little bit over. And so if I hook that up to this, and I have done that, and this actually, this is 150 roughly, and that would be 179. So with all the bulbs in, this would give enough current for me to run the stereo, but not full. So if I really want this to be providing full current, then I'd have to go into bypass mode. But you want to start off, especially if you haven't done anything to a radio or an amplifier or whatever, you want to start off with the lights in circuit. That way if something decides to go kapow and go short, the only thing that is going to happen is that the lights light up and nothing bad happens for the most part. Although if you have all the bulbs in and you have 200 watts available to you, you might still be able to let the magic smoke out. But anyway, so the reason I did what I did was I saw people swapping in different sized bulbs, and then obviously they'd have a switch, and they'd switch them on and off as they were adding wattage, making more watts available as you're troubleshooting. I decided to make it easy just to flip a switch, and I could get the watts that I wanted. Basically, is what it amounts to. Most of the stuff, like I said, most of the stuff I work with are not high wattage items. And I do not work on televisions. I do not know enough about televisions, so I simply don't work on them tube type. I had repaired my own solid state televisions in the past, but for the most part I don't touch them. I enjoy working more with the tube stuff and some of the vintage solid state stuff, smaller solid state stuff. Televisions take up a lot of room. I don't have a lot of room, so I don't really want to get into that, so I don't. But anyway, so the primary reason for this is I can control how much wattage I have available to me depending on what I'm working on. Just quick and easy flip, and I can get exactly, well, relatively exactly what I want. And I thought about, well, when I was thinking about doing this, I thought, well, what if I just did 2 bulbs, and then I could just take these switches out, put 2 switches in and into this. I could even put a bulb here and a bulb here. I just go down back to 2 bulbs. I ultimately decided, no, I've already got this wired, I've already got this built basically. It's just a matter of moving it into this box, and it doesn't hurt anything to have an extra bulb in there. And if I do have something that's drawing a lot of current, I have got to find a 100 watt bulb. That would give me more current for working with something, and that would provide more of the voltage the device needs if I've got higher wattage bulbs available. And if I get, if I decided that I wanted to have, say, 200 watt bulbs and the 75, then I'm closer to the 2 amps that I want, say, for the Fisher. And I control, again, what I want to have in the circuit. So anyway, it's probably overkill. But like I said, I built this when I didn't have anything else, and I wanted to have bulbs in circuit with whatever I was working on. And I also wanted the ability to control how much wattage I was supplying to whatever I was working on, which is why I did this. So this is, and what's also nice about this version 2 of this is that I can put this over here out of the way. If I want to have it out here, this is a little bit narrower, a little bit more convenient. And I can reach over here to get the power, hit the power button. Because the other thing is I have a tendency to reach up to my Variac and turn the power on and off. Rather than using the on-off switch on whatever I'm working on. A lot of people tend to not want to use the on-off switch very often. They want to make it last as long as they can make it last, and I can understand that. Some people use a power strip and use the on-off switch on that for their stereo or whatever it is. And it's definitely not a bad idea, and I've been pondering that one. I bought a new switch for my Fisher because the switch had failed originally, and somebody put a little switch in a wooden box and wired it into the stereo, and that was their on-off switch. They used that radio a lot. But anyway, so having this convenient right by where I'm working on something is nice. So yeah. So I am wrapping up here at this point. I tend to ramble too much. I don't like that, but I do tend to do that. So I'm going to just say, if you liked it, let me know. If you didn't like it, let me know. If you think I'm crazy, you can tell me that. But like I said, I debated about how I wanted to do this, and I decided, why not just go with what I've already got, and I did. Oh, and yes, if you like this or any of the other stuff that I've done, subscribe. I'd love to have you on my channel. And thank you.